shall we have a little catch up about my first yarn festival experience? Hi, I'm Nat, welcome to Tink and Frog Knits. If you don't know me, I'm a new knitter based in Yorkshire and this is my channel where I just chat all things knitting with you. On Saturday, I went to a festival called Yarndale. This is a yarn festival and some other crafts, but mostly yarn festival based in Yorkshire in the lovely market town of Skipton. It was my first time going to a yarn festival and I want to chat about it. I think I'll do some thoughts on going to the yarn festival and Yarndale specifically. We can talk about stalls that caught my eye and we can talk about what I bought because it was my birthday on Saturday, so I treated myself. I got money from my mum like a child and it's safe to say that I spent it. So first things first, what am I wearing? This is my Maud sweater. This is my most recently finished object. I talk all about this in my most recent podcast episode. If you're interested in the look of this, it's a beautiful pattern and my most prized possession. I wore this to Yarndale to show off and it's safe to say that I got plenty of compliments on it and people asking what pattern it was, which was quite nice. I also made a matching scrunchie, which I'm very aware I don't have enough hair for a scrunchie at this point, but I don't care, it's cute. That is the Soho scrunchie, I want to say. And it's a free pattern and you can knit it in mohair, fingering, DK, worsted, chunky. It's got all the numbers that you need to make a thin one, a medium one, a thick one. This is the medium. Maybe should have gone smaller since I have no hair left, but yeah, great little pattern for your scraps and leftovers from a project and matching. So sweet. Whilst we chat, I might try and do a bit of knitting. I'm not the best multitasker though, so I probably will just sit with it on my lap the entire time. This is my Lakes V-neck, which is a pattern by Ozetta. I've knitted the body to the recommended length and just kind of put the stoppers on that. And now I'm doing the first sleeve and I'm going to knit this to the recommended length and then I'm going to block it. When I use this yarn, which is Holstgarn Coast in Stonehenge, when I used this yarn in a different colour for another project, I used it for my Sabai sweater, it shrank a lot in terms of the length. So it lost quite a good chunk of length, probably like 5-10%, 7% if we're being anal about it. So because this sweater is a shorter one, so this jumper that I'm wearing is like 60 centimeters long, this one's only going to be about 51 I think is the recommended, so I don't want it to be like round my tits crop if you know what I mean. So I'm going to block it, see how the gauge changes and then go from there before I start the ribbing and see if I need to add extra length to the sleeves or the body. Sleeves are important as well, like I like my sleeves to be a nice length. So if I'm doing any knitting whilst we chat, that is what I'm knitting on. She says, like, I can't even find my working yarn. Maybe this isn't the best idea. Anyway, so I found Yarndale really fun, though it was very overwhelming. There was about 200 vendors, I think, and it was all in this big auction mart. So it's like a big, not quite a barn, but it's like a barn where it's full of sheep and stuff and they sell them to farmers. So it's quite, rustic, which was really cool. And it meant there was a reasonable amount of space at all the stalls. But I walked in and I was like, this is a lot. So it was a bit of a lot to take in. I also don't feel like I've been in that sort of situation in a long time. I went to go see Foo Fighters last year, but that's outside and we were at the back of the Golden Circle, so it wasn't crammed. So it's been a while since I've been in a crowded hall with a lot of people. And I'm a introverted, social loner, so it was a bit much. And I got recognised, which is wild, by 2 people. So thank you very much if you had a chat with me. That was a very strange experience because in my head I just like put these videos out for fun and I get some comments that people reply to, but I don't really think about the fact that people are watching this. Like one of my videos has like over 14,000 people, which is wild, but I've just kind of not like computed that. So getting recognised was, I mean, it was overwhelming, to be honest. It was strange, but it was very nice to be approached. So thank you for being so kind. I did many laps before I could actually feel like I took it all in and start like committing to buying things. Like I would be walking around and it's like, how does anyone make any decisions? Because there's so much beautifully hand-dyed yarn, there's so many notions, there's so many stalls, there's so many bases, like it just feels quite difficult. But after I'd been round a few times and I kind of like had a little sit and I had my lunch, I took a picnic because when you have a child it makes you a very organised person. I had my backpack and I was like bashing people with my water bottle all day, so sorry if you got bashed by me. I kind of then like just went, okay, what do I want to like look for first? Because I'd gone with a list of projects of things that I maybe wanted to get yarn for, and I got loads of different projects at different weights, different amounts, so that if there was things that caught my eye I could buy for that project and know I had a use for it and got the right amount. But then the issue with that was just it was too many choices, so I kind of went, okay, what do I want to buy first? And then I went from there. So should we talk about what I bought first? The first thing I bought was some very beautiful cashmere merino. Isn't that just the most beautiful green colour? So this is by Irish Artisan yarn, and this is 80% non-superwash merino, 20% cashmere, and it is so soft. It's fingering weight, and I'm planning on holding this double to do a peacock scarf, which is a pattern by Linnet. And I kind of just, once I bought something, I felt a bit more like comfortable committing to things, though deciding on colours is really difficult when you're at a yarn festival. Like originally I was trying to find things like colourwork, and trying to pair colours on the spot is also really difficult, so I just went with one colour for a very beautiful scarf. So this was £9 a ball, which I thought was quite reasonable. Was it 8? It was 8 or £9, I can't remember. So not too unreasonable, to be honest, for a cashmere blend as well. Sorry, I've got a really bad cold. So this is their studio line. So essentially Irish Artisan Yarns does really beautiful hand-dyed yarn in greens and purples, some like greys. And to go with that, they've made a line called Studio, which is like solids that go really well with their hand-dyed yarns. So the stall had this like really beautiful colour palette. There was like greens, greys, purples, maybe some bluishy ones, but that was kind of the colour palette for the stall, and everything went together really well, which was really nice. And they had another yarn base, which was baby alpaca and silk, which was so soft and stunning, and I was contemplating buying that as well, but then I wanted to be able to buy from more vendors as opposed to like spending a lot of my money in one place. I recommend looking at that as well if you get a chance. So yeah, this was a really great stall. It was so pretty. I didn't really have to and ah about my colour choice for this one because I was just so taken by this beautiful green. I think I might be in my green era. 200 meters a ball. I think for the peacock scarf it says 205, but I'm sure I can adjust it fine. Very beautiful. Very pleased with my first purchase. And then after I did this, I started getting a bit more bold with my choices. So I would just want to mention a few other stalls that like took my eye but I didn't buy anything from, and I've written them down because there was a lot of people. Let's see, we've got Yarn Artistry was a really fun stall where all of their hand-dyed yarn was like inspired by things. So they had Taylor Swift's albums in yarn, which was really fun. I like sent that to my sister, like, look how cool these are, because she's a big Swiftie. They had like Beatrix Potter ones, they had artists like Monet and Van Gogh, they had kids books, so the the very hungry caterpillar, the butterfly at the end of that, I think it was, the Eric Carlisle description. They had a yarn for that and it was so pretty. And I just thought that was like a really fun way to choose a yarn, like based on something. So if you're a Swiftie, being able to go, oh, Love is my favourite album, perfect. Or if you've got a child that's really into Beatrix Potter, to be able to get like a beautiful hand-dyed skein that's like based on one of their favourite things. Like I just thought that was like such a really nice way to be able to buy yarn. And they had lots of little notiony bits as well, like they had little pin badges I think for Taylor Swift, and yeah, that was a really cute stall. And I chatted to the guy about Taylor Swift because my daughter, she's 3 but she's a big Swiftie already, so yeah, we're very excited for her new album to come out on Friday. But yes, that was really nice. I also liked Second City Yarns, which is based in Birmingham, and they had so many colours, like any colour you want they had it, is kind of how I'm going to describe them. And they had a really good range of like pastel all the way down to like deep colours, like a tonal fade, should we say. So you'd have like a really pastel yellow and then a bit darker, a bit darker, a bit darker, a bit darker. So if you like into that sort of making fadey shawls, they had great choices for that, and they were just really beautifully done, and it just really drew my eye how perfect the fades were and how you could make ombre things. And I thought that was like a really nice stall. And so some of the stalls, like they just had so many and so many colours, like it was just so overwhelming because you'd be looking at it and be like colour everywhere, bases everywhere. So that being like organised and beautiful, it kind of made it feel a bit less overwhelming if you were looking to buy. And then in the opposite we had Creative Anarchy, who just had like the really nice rich deep like jewel toned darker colours that were just really beautiful, and that you don't really get as well with like what word do I want, you know, like big batch, not hand dyed, it's not corporate, what am I talking about, when you buy from a big brand basically, you don't really get those like really rich heavily pigmented dark colours. So I think they had a really good choice of colours that you don't get from the big brands, so that was why I quite liked them. And now we've chatted about those 3 hand-dyed stores, let's talk about the one that I bought. This is so fun. This is a yarn from Mamie and Florrie, and it's called Meet Me in Paris at the Sacre Coeur. And I went to Paris on my hen do with my 3 best friends, and I've been eyeing up this colourway for ages. They are based in Yorkshire, I think they're based in the Peak District, and all of the yarns are based on places. So they have their little like what 3 words. So this one is here's subsets textiles, and you can go and see where that is. And it's kind of like, I think they have a monthly travel subscription almost, so it's like the different yarns are based on different places, and this was a subscription one I think in February this year, and they've brought it out as a permanent colour because it's so stunning. I kind of have a bit of a obsession with like pink and orange together, so I originally went to their stall thinking maybe I'd get this in the boucle base. So Mamie and Florrie have loads of like really fun bases. There's Surrey alpaca, there's fluff, there's boucle, there's all the socky bases, this is a merino, superwash merino, but loads of like really fun, oh there's glitter sequins sort of ones, really fun bases if you're looking for something that's more interesting to use. But the boucle, there was 2 weights, and there was a thinner one, but that was too thin for the pattern I wanted to do, and it wasn't enough to hold it double, and the thicker one wasn't enough meterage because I wanted to make the teddy sweater by Paula Strict, but it wasn't enough, and I couldn't really justify buying 2 for a hot water bottle because, you know, they're like hand-dyed £20 odd skeins. So I ummed and ahed a bit, and I decided to go for the fingering weight base. In the end I went with the 100% merino, so this is 366 meters per 100 grams, and it's a superwash one. It's called the Merino Singles, and I'm going to use this as a contrast colour in a Facet sweater, which is another pattern by Lynette. I hadn't really realised that I was in a Lynette heavy It's a new pattern. It came out on 25th of September and I love it. I love it, I love it, I love it. I've seen some of the tester versions where they use loads of different contrast colours, which is kind of something I had my eye out for whilst I was at the Yarn Festival. I've obviously gone for quite a big hank of this, so this is going to be just one of two contrast colours, but I just think this will be really fun. I really like hand-dyed yarns as stripes or colourwork. Like, I cannot be arsed dealing with like pooling and having to do like different strands to like avoid that. Like, I cannot be bothered doing that, and I cannot afford to knit an entire sweater out of beautiful hand-dyed yarn. So buying one as a contrast on a sweater I thought was a really good idea, and I do love the look of that. So I've got this. I need to get a mohair to pair with it. I think, like, they do have a mohair because obviously they've got the fun bases, but I just couldn't really get my budget to stretch to get the matching one. I think I'm just going to go for like a pale peachy colour so that it doesn't, I don't want to like hide the beautiful hand-dyedness of it. So I think I'm just going to go for a pale peachy colour and hope that works well, because the pattern is fingering plus mohair. Really recommend Mamie Florrie. I really enjoyed chatting to them. The woman that runs it and her daughter were working on the stall, and showed them a picture of my unicorn sweater that I'm knitting for my daughter, or I finished for my daughter, sorry. And yeah, it was just such a lovely stall and loads of fun. And they had loads of people that were like repeat customers that came and they were like, look at this bag I made with last year's yarn. And I just thought they had like such good vibes, and I wanted to support them, and I definitely want to buy more from them in the future. Like, their colours are all just like so vivid and bright. Like, this is one of the less bright ones. Like, there's neons. Like, it is so fun. And if you're looking for something that's like really unique and colourful, definitely go to Mamie and Florrie. So now I had this skein, I had a plan. I knew I needed to get a second contrast colour. So towards the end of the day, I remembered that there was a by Laxtons stand that I hadn't actually really visited because it had been quite busy. Laxtons is a yarn that I've heard of before on Rebecca from McCrae-Bear's podcast. I think she talks about it being like good, and how they do a lot of bases and dyeing and stuff for other yarn brands. So I like kind of had the name in my head, like I recognised it, and I went back and they had all the yarn just kind of out, and there was just like big lists on the wall like wool trace £5 fingering, wool trace £7 DK, sheepy soft £4 fingering, but then none of the skeins had labels, so you had to kind of do some working out to work out what it was. So I went on their website to get it up so that I could try and work out what I was actually looking at, and I quickly realised that everything was half the price of what it is on their website, so bargain. And whilst I was looking, a woman was like sat on the floor and pulling out all these skeins of the most perfect colour to go with my hand dyed, and I kind of like pointed at her like, I like that colour, and she's like, okay, weirdo. But she had the DK, and I was like, oh, I need a fingering, I need fingering, I need fingering, and there was none on that wall, and I was like, oh no, because it would have been so perfect. And then I like was like, oh, kind of giving up, and looked around, and there was another stand just with a few, and there was 4 colours of the fingering weight base, and it was there. It was there. It was like the gods were calling to me. So we have got this very orangey red coral colour. Now, isn't that just going to be the most fun colourwork sweater? I'm so excited to make this. So I think this leans orange. My husband and my daughter think it leans red. I don't know which colour it is. I looked on their website and they've got a colour called Sunset and a colour called Poppy, and honestly it could be either. I don't have a very good eye for this sort of stuff, but I think it leans a bit more orangey. So I'm going to try and get, I think I want it to lean more orangey because this is obviously very pink and it does have these orangey details. So I think I'm going to get an orangey coloured mohair. Like blood orange from Knitting for Olive would kind of be perfect. That's the vibe I'm thinking. But again, that's budget. I probably need to go for the drops cheap one. So we'll see what I can find. But yeah, so these are my 2 colours for my Facet sweater by Lynette, and I think I'm just going to use a white, off-white for the base colour. I've actually got mohair in off-white, so I was thinking this would work as the base colour, and I just need to get a single fingering weight strand for the main colour and mohair for these. But I'm very excited. When I went to the festival, like one of my aims was I want to get something to go in a garment so that I can have like a, this is like my Yarndale garment. And obviously I wasn't going to get a sweater quantity because I wish I was rich enough to do that, but I had a few colourworky options where I was like, I can get something to go in it to make it that little bit special without having to buy an entire sweater amount. So I'm really pleased with these. I'm really pleased that I managed to get this colour that I've loved for a while. I'm so happy that I found this like matching. This is 100% BFL. So they're obviously quite different yarns. Mamie Florrie did have a BFL sock base, and I was umming and ahhing about getting that because that had like more meterage, and I was like less likely to be paying yarn chicken because this is a new pattern. There's not many projects on Ravelry to see exactly how many meters people have used, but the pattern just says 100 grams of XYZ sample yarn, so it doesn't give you exact numbers, and I've had to just hope. Worst case, I'm gonna have really long ribbing. But I think it'll be okay. I mean, when I've got more money again, I could always pick up another one if I have to. Oh, my beautiful yarn's on the floor. So yeah, really happy with this. Really excited to knit it up. Realistically, it's probably not going to get knit for a few months because I have a lot of plans. But that was my next main yarn purchase. I want to talk about another yarn stall that was a bit different. It's actually a community project. So there was a stall there called the Cone Exchange, which is based in Harrogate, and I've never heard of it before, but I really wanted to highlight them because they do some great things. The Cone Exchange is a community project from Betty's Tea Room. I'm sure if you're in the UK you know what Betty's Tea Room is, and Harrogate, not Harrogate, Taylors of Harrogate, the like coffee tea company. And they kind of like repurpose a lot of old stuff. So there's like goodie bags of donated yarn, so you can get like 342 grams of a random blue yarn, so that was fun. Like it was like looking for treasure. They pull off buttons from old garments, and they were all presented on like Yorkshire tea card, which was very sweet. The cellophane was like the wrappers from the around your tea bag box and stuff, so that was really cool. And they do community projects, so they do like crafty things for children and charities, and I just thought that it was really nice, and it was a great way to like be a bit more sustainable. And I definitely want to go and visit their store in Harrogate at some point. My brother-in-law lives in Harrogate, so hopefully I can time it with a trip to go visit him. They do, you know, like goodie jars of crafts for kids and all these sort of fun things. I just thought it was really nice that a charity was there and so popular. Loads of people were going to chat to them. There was some goodies to be found. They had fabrics as well. They had a lot of fabric, more so than yarn, because I have a feeling that a lot of the yarn might have gone before I got there because it was the end of the day. There was like, you know, half-used cones and stuff, so it was great to find a bargain whilst also using up materials that were like previously unloved. And it was really wild because some of the yarn, I was like, this looks like it could be older than me. Like the packaging was like really old school, so that was pretty cool as well. I will definitely link them below so you can read more about their actual charity community work, because I don't know a lot, but I just really wanted to flag them. I do have another yarn purchase, and this time I've gone for a merino and mohair pairing. This is just the perfect autumn colour, isn't it? And my plan for this is to make some penny gloves, which is obviously a really popular pattern from Petite Knit. It's 200 meters, 210 meters, so plenty to do that. Too much, I will have leftovers, but there is a pattern called the croissant bag, croissant purse, something like that, and this is kind of croissant coloured, so I could make a croissant bag, which I've already got the pattern for. Like as soon as I saw it, I was like, I must make that croissant, like I must have that croissant bag in my life. so I might use it for that, but it feels a bit wrong to be using like bougie mohair for my croissant bag and not for my clothes. So maybe I'll find another use, but I think I'll have like 70 meters left, which is just an awkward amount to then have in stash. So croissant bag. Anyway, this is from Avec Anna, and they had really beautiful colours. I spent so long choosing. I changed my mind so long. I would stand at the back of the stall like this, trying to pick. Originally I was trying to choose 2 colours to make the songbird mittens, but I gave up on trying to do that and thought, okay, at least if I just pick one colour, you can't do it wrong, can you? You just do it in that colour. Their colours were stunning, so it just really drew my eye. It's kind of like knitting for olive vibes, like the really beautiful versions of all the colours. The woman on the stand was really kind. She was like really helpful with people trying to get like the right amounts of their patterns. She had her own patterns and loads of beautiful samples, loads of kids' clothes as well. I've looked at her patterns since, and I am considering maybe doing one of her patterns with this instead. But my current plan is penny gloves, but I might go for one of her scarves. We will see. This is superwash merino, I think. I didn't realise when I got it, but that's fine. Not a problem. It feels nice. It doesn't feel squeaky plasticky. Pretty. So I want to talk about yarn dyeing and the stalls that I found with dyeing supplies, if that's your jam. Oh, I can't remember the name and I've not written it down well. My phone's there. How am I meant to check? Give me a sec. My laptop's very slow. If you're wondering how I ever get videos out with a lot of stress and crashing. Studio IYKYK. Okay. So Studio IYKYK are plant dyers, and their stall was beautiful because they had yarn that they dyed with plant dyes, they had textiles they dyed with plant dyes, they had all the plants for you. So there was like dried marigolds, dried indigo and stuff, so you could buy like bags of it to do your own dyeing, and then they also had all the stuff to go with it, like your mordants and things that you need to like make it stick to your textiles. They also had like textiles that you could buy to dye yourself. They had like tea towels and things that already dyed, and they were also really like chatty. I chatted to them about how I wanted to maybe grow my own flowers for dyeing on my allotment, and yeah, so we had a really nice chat, and I just thought that was really cool, and it's something that I've been interested in and would also make like a cute little gift, because they had like little, my house is very loud. They had like little box sets that had like everything you needed to start plant dyeing, and yeah, I was really interested in that. I didn't get anything from it today, but I definitely think that I will when I have space and time on my list of crafty things that I want to do, which is very quickly filled up. And also talking about dyeing, Colourcraft were there, and they are a acid dye company that I used to dye my yarn for my sweet shop blanket. If you haven't seen any of my previous podcast episodes, I do go through all the little mini skeins that I dyed. I dyed 40 10-gram skeins to do a little sweet shop blanket, and I used their dyes. I used a cool and a warm red, blue, yellow, and didn't delve into their like pre-made like colours. They have loads of beautiful greens and oranges and stuff, so their store was really fun to be able to go and see what they actually look like in real life. Like some of them are beautiful, and it was just nice to be able to see what the colours are actually like on Fibre, because it's quite difficult to tell, isn't it, online. They had little sheep that they dyed as like bunting, which were really cute, and then they had this like massive sheep, I can't remember the name of it now, but I did get a little video where they'd like dyed all the fibres to fill its back, and it just looks so colourful and fun. So yeah, if you're looking for acid dyes to dye your own yarn, Colourcraft, recommend. I've used them before, and they had a fun stall at Yarndale. Ooh, there's a spider on my notes. Okay. Right. Notions. Ethel and Joan was the most colourful, fun stall. They had loads of really great buttons. I almost bought some, but I did buy some buttons from somewhere else in the end. But really fun if you're looking for colourful buttons. They had really beautiful project bags that were all hand painted, and they had pockets. They were really great, really fun. They had like little magnetic resiny kind of things that your needles stick to, so you don't lose all your like needles and metallic notions. And pretty much everything was handmade by the woman that was on the stall. She was like really chatty, it was really fun, really nice. They had needle stoppers. Like, it was just a really fun stall for notions. If you are looking for anything like that, I'm sure that they're online as well. And another one, which is a bit different, is Joe Hunter Wearables, and there were some of the most beautiful buttons that I've ever seen in my whole life there. So if you're looking for buttons, Joe Hunter Wearables. There was also like earrings and other handmade things, and they were all just so pretty. And the thing that I was kind of drawn to as well is that there was sets to make your own buttons, like with the clay and stuff, and giving you information on how to do it. So I thought that was like a really fun option if you're inclined to do extras to go on your projects like me. But in terms of what notions I actually bought, we've got, I just got some stitch markers because I feel like that's obligatory when you go to a yarn festival. Oh, they're all facing the wrong way. Anyway, I got tits. These are from Yarnistry, but I got them whilst I was at Mamie and Florrie, and I originally picked up some with swear words, but I was a little bit disappointed there was no C-bombs because that's my favourite swear word. And then I saw the boobs and I was like, oh, actually I really want the boobs. There's a green one as well, which is on my loom that I started the other day. But yeah, just got some booby stitch holders because why not? Again, Yarnistry, they make all their own, and you can get custom ones. I saw on their Instagram someone had got Whip Bitch, and I thought that was hilarious. Like, I feel like I might have to buy that. But yeah, stitch markers. I don't have any fun stitch markers until now, so that's great. And my buttons are stunning. Aren't they just the prettiest buttons you've ever seen? These are ceramic buttons that are handmade. They're covered in fibre fluff. We've not talked about my fibre. Okay, we'll talk about buttons. And I thought these would be perfect for my book club cardigan. So I've got Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino in Plum Rose, and I thought this was perfect. And I actually took swatches with me, which is, yeah, I got compliments on how organised I was. I had like a key ring, and I just put all my swatches on it, and if I didn't have a swatch, I just tied yarn around it. So then I was walking around the show like with my swatches like, do these match? Which, yeah, recommend, to be honest, if you're looking for buttons. They also go with the Bordeaux Heavy Merino for my field day jackets. That is also an option, and they both only need 4 buttons. So yeah, I grabbed these because stunning, and I feel like having special buttons just makes your garment just that little bit more special, doesn't it? So as I mentioned, Saturday at the yarn festival was also my birthday, and I asked my husband for a drop spindle, and he 3D printed me one this way. I don't know how they work, I need to Google it, but I've been watching a lot of Knitting with Ev on YouTube, and she did Tour de Fleece, and she does fibre studies and loads of spinning. She has a proper wheel though, but she does also use these and like a Turkish spindle. So I asked my husband for my birthday, so he quickly 3D printed me one, and getting some fibre to spin was one of the top of the list things for me to get whilst I was at Yarndale. I bought nice fibre and just regular fibre to practice with. So here's my bag of fibre goodness. I really wanted to get something really beautiful that I could then actually knit into something, because if after practicing and doing this I decide I hate it, that's fine. I've had fun, I've done it, but I want to have something out of it and not just like some crappy yarn that I've spun up. So I wanted to go for really pretty ones that I'm like motivated to do. So I went and visited John Arbon Textiles, who I went to, sorry, it's very ruffly. I attended some of the classes on their open mill weekend, so I really wanted to like go and support them because I just loved that like free community, like offering resources, offering their time, and I wanted to go and support them. And they have a new yarn base out called Seafarer. It's 90% British wools. There's like Blueface Leicester in there, something Dorset, maybe Romney. There's a few. I think there's 4, and then 10% silk. I'll link it below so you can have a look yourself. And that was launched kind of at Yarndale. I think it came out like a day or 2 before, but Yarndale was the first time they'd shown it. And the yarn is sport weight for about £22 a skein, but the fibre is only £9 per 100 grams. So a lot cheaper because you have to spend hours and 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 hours making the yarn yourself. So I picked up 2 colours from their Seafarer range. This one was called Calypso, and this one begins with a M. I can't remember. But I spent ages talking to the woman who was by all the fibre, who like pulled it down, and she was very impressive because she would like pull it down, wrap it up, and then put it on scales, and it was like almost exactly 100 grams. I was like, that's very impressive, especially with a new yarn base that has like a different weight and feel to it. Very impressive. But we spent ages talking about how when they're coming up with new colours, how dyeing fibre and how they all mix together and how they come out, and that was really interesting and really fun and really nice of them to spend so long talking to me because they were manic at John Arbon. I think everyone was like flocking to the like colour by numbers, knit by numbers, and yeah, there was loads of very beautiful yarns, and I was really keen to feel them all. And they had some really good samples out as well, because obviously they've had their annual released recently, so they had a lot of the samples for that there, like Laura Penrose's shawl and stuff. So so yeah, I got these 2, and I think I want to make like a cowl with these. Obviously I have no idea what yarn weight I'll end up when I do this. Who knows? It's probably not going to be a consistent yarn weight, is it? But I think I might do something by Andrea Mowry. She does a lot of like spinning, so I think a lot of her patterns do work for like kind of irregular hand spun yarns. I've been eyeing up the IYKYK cowl, which is one of her newer releases. I think the IYKYK sweater is like the Rhinebeck sweater this year. I think they have like a pattern that's like, let's all knit this and wear the same sweater to a yarn festival, which is really fun. But there's a cowl version, and I think these would be really fun together in that. So that's my beautiful John Arbon fibre. This is like candy floss. It's so satisfying just seeing all the different strands, and yeah, it's very soft and nice and makes me sneeze because it keeps fluffing everywhere, and everything's covered in fluff. And then I also got a beginner practice yarn so that I don't trash that. I mean, I'm sure that you can't trash it, I'm sure you can put it out, but you know, whatever. And this was from Adalaide Walker, I think. It's not written down on there. I'm going to say Adalaide Walker, but it might not be Walker. Adalaide something. And I just got some Jacob fleece in white. I was speaking to the woman there about being brand new to it and like asked what she recommends for beginners. She does classes in spinning, and she says that she uses Jacob a lot because of staple length and grippiness and stuff. It's not the softest, it's not as soft as BFL, but that helps with beginners, like getting that gripping, getting it going. And I don't know, I clearly don't know what I'm talking about, but that's, you know, a future project. So yeah, I just got some Jacob fleece, and I joined knitting with Ev's Discord server whilst they were doing the Tour de Fleece, just because I wanted to see what everyone was doing because I'm interested. And someone on that community had talked about doing a sheep sweater and doing each row with like different fibre, and I thought that was such a cute idea. So I thought, even though I won't necessarily knit with this in this project, I could, but it's a lot scratchier, I could then keep this yarn that I make for doing that project in the future, and then do a bit of a fibre study and lots of different types of yarn to do all the different sheets, which will be very cute. So they are all my purchases. Have I got anyone else to talk about? Not particularly. I mean, obviously there was loads of very beautiful things, and there was lots of cute sheep there. There was Wensleydale sheep. I didn't realise they were so little. They were so cute, and their hair is like, fur, wool, what do you call it? Fleece? Their fleece is like all crimpy, and oh, they were very cute. They looked a bit fed up by the end of the day, and to be honest, I think I was too. It was a long day, and it was a very stimulating day. But I had a lot of fun. I'm glad I went, and the main thing that I really wanted to get out of it was just being able to like touch things, like being able to squish yak yarn, being able to feel cashmere, being able to feel angora and baby alpaca and Surrey alpaca, like all these yarns that they don't have in my local yarn shop, but for me to be able to feel, I would have to just buy it, and I don't want to have to do that. So yeah, that was definitely like the highlight for me, was just being able to like fondle things. And it was great walking around and seeing everyone's hand knit, hand crochet garments. I wore Maud, which kept me nice and toasty in the basically outdoory vibes barn. I saw plenty of ranunculus. I saw some really pretty Kintra sweaters, which is one that I've got on my list. I saw some, not the loom, but a similar one, I can't remember the name of it. Everyone had really beautiful clothes, and there was loads of really bold like crochet cardigans, and everyone was like asking each other like, what pattern is that, what yarn have you used? I loved that, and giving each other compliments, which was really nice. And when you sat down throughout the hall, there was like areas with seats in, so you could like sit in a sheep pen and have your lunch or do a bit of knitting, and everyone was like chatting away, talking about what projects they're working on, asking what sort of stuff people were buying, so that was really nice. There was like buses on, so you could like park and ride, so you could park in town, get the bus there. I got a lift from my husband, and he kind of just was coming up to a roundabout in traffic, so I jumped out of the car and walked down the hill to the auction mart, which worked fine. But yeah, it was a fun day. I'm glad that I went. I think I will go again to yarn festivals. I'm planning on going to Woolly Good Gathering in Edinburgh, which I think is in April, and that feels like it's a bit more intimate, smaller one, so it might be a bit less overwhelming. And my sister lives in Edinburgh, so I can stay with her for free for that one. But yeah, it was a fun day, and I'm really happy with my purchases. I can't wait to start knitting some of them up. I have so many things to knit. It's really hard to know what I should knit first, because I just have so many things that I want to do. Obviously I still need to buy yarn to finish having the right quantity for my Facet sweater, but that's probably the thing that I'm most excited about from my purchases. And yeah, I might do a little video when I start trying to spin. That will be fun, or a disaster, but it'll be fun to watch. Thanks for watching. If you're still here and you've listened to me waffle for God knows how long, I appreciate you. Have a lovely day.